Hey everybody, had some technical problems. I apologize. That was unfortunate. Just had some technical things I had to deal with. And I hope that everyone who was on that live might shift to this live. Even getting that live to stop was difficult for me. So I want to talk about the today is Mother's Day in the United States. I had a Polish client today. Their Mother's Day is May 26th, and England's like March something. So Mother's Day is all around the world, but today is our Mother's Day here in the US. And I thought I would go live because not everybody's had such a positive experience of their mothers. Some don't have mothers anymore. My mother has passed away, my father has passed away, and my brother has passed away. As you get older, your family gets a little smaller. And also, many of us have not had such a great relationship with our mothers. And I think there are many of those out there on this day who are um, definitely struggling with this particular day because of its, how do we we see everybody else going and visiting their wonderful mothers, and not everybody's mother is wonderful, even if they go and visit them and such. But it seems like they're all having a happy family time, and many of you and many of us will think about, well, that's not exactly my Mother's Day experience, especially if you had a mother who was narcissistic, alcoholic, neglectful, mean, abusive. There are any number of family dynamics that can make Mother's Day a more difficult time for people. And I thought today I might kind of bring some words of positivity and hope, and that Mother's Day is a made up holiday, just like so many of our holidays are, like Thanksgiving. Abraham Lincoln started Thanksgiving in the United States. Well, that doesn't mean it's a holy holiday, that, it's a made up holiday. And yet sometimes when we connect to it, we think it's so hallowed and so sacred. Well, no, it was made up, after the Civil War. Uh, and it's good to think about Mother's Day maybe in a different way for some of us that might be helpful on this day. I do try to celebrate. For me, I do try to celebrate others whom have been good mothers, and I want to support them in that mothering. I do want to check and make sure, can everybody hear me okay? Could I get a message to make sure you can hear me well from someone? The I do try to support others who are good mothers and celebrate their mothering, and so I will send cards. Oh, great. Thanks, Catherine. And I will send cards and flowers and things like that to others who have been great mothers. And I want to support that, even though they're not my mother. Um, and so I want to I celebrate Mother's Day in that way, celebrating the good and the good mothers who are out there. This particular live is entitled Becoming the Emotionally Mature Mother You Never Had. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I might have time for a couple other questions, as we get towards the end. And so if you have any, I wouldn't send them right now. I would wait. And then if you'd put kind of a capital question in capital letters, and then write a brief question, maybe I can answer some of those today. So on Mother's Day, regardless of whether our mothers are past, our mothers were good, our mothers were bad. Um, and I remember, oh, I was going to look for that book. There was a great book. I think it was entitled, oh, let me check. I did want to, yeah, the Jeanette McCurdy book, if you're familiar with that. I'm glad my mom died. Now, that sounds kind of harsh and kind of mean, and I don't think that's what the book's about. The book's talking about her experience of her mom, and I think there are some people who are glad their mother has passed away, and I don't think there should be any guilt or shame about that. If you heard some of the stories that I've heard, you might think maybe that was a better thing for them to pass on. Um, and I think she was brave enough, uh, Jeanette McCurdy, she was brave enough to write a book about how she truly felt. And so that's something I might recommend if you had a difficult or abusive childhood. Now, as adults, and I think about whenever there's Father's Day, Mother's Day, my parents are both gone. Then I think about how can I reparent me on these days? How can I be a good mother to me? How can I be a good father to me? Because I'm still the little Jerry who continues to live. I live on, and I'm still have an adult Jerry and a little Jerry, a child Jerry inside of me. And so what am I going to do with on Mother's Day? You know, how can I become the emotionally mature mother I never had? I often use the phrase, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. And I still believe that because that was the transformation of my life. It is never too late to have a happy childhood because you still have the inner child and little child within you, and you can still parent and reparent that inner child. And I believe that we can do that, and that's also a part of growing up and being self-differentiated. That is a part of the self-differentiation work. If I can focus on me and take care of me. So what are some of the components involved in becoming an emotionally mature mother I never had for me, which probably should be added to the title, for me? Well, and I'm never against anyone becoming an emotionally mature mother for your kids. That's also a good thing to do. I want to be the emotionally mature father for my children, whether I'm 60 some years old, whether I'm 35 years old. I want to be that emotionally mature person for them because that will only reduce the amount of issues they will have to resolve that I have left unresolved. And so, before I get into the uh, some of these ideas about reparenting, I want to talk about a new program I have coming out. You can find it online. You can see it below. There's a link below, and it's my new online flagship workshop that's self-paced learning, um, and your road to a new you, and finding the self that you never had. I don't think I've even saying it right, but you can see the online program down there. And I would ask you to check that out. I also have a new training that's free that you can find also below that you can go do. That's about 84 minutes. Just go click on that, and that's some free learning for you. The program is 6 weeks or 6 modules. However, you can take longer than that to take it if you'd like. We've gotten great feedback from people on that. And basically, this six modules are, 45 years of my life um, that I've tried to put into, um, building a real self, building the real self you were never allowed to have, and I would check that out. I think you might find that helpful. I think it would save a lot of people thousands of dollars in therapy costs. I wish I'd have had that kind of training when I was starting out with my own recovery and starting to come out of the fog of my family of origin thinking and feeling and being and subjective awareness. And when coming out of that fog, I wish I'd have had this kind of training available to me. I really do. And I've tried to provide that in the videos, 400 plus videos or whatever. And I think that you can learn a lot from those. And I've wanted to give it away because I felt so blessed by so many who gave me so much. I wanted to give to others. Now, I still have to pay bills, so it does help if you support the work that I'm doing. So let's talk about reparenting ourselves. First of all, we want to identify your unmet needs. What were your unmet needs? Take time to identify the emotional needs that were not met during childhood. And this may include needs such as being loved, being validated, or needing validation, needing love, needing safety, needing support. Maybe you didn't have those things. And I talk to people every day who didn't get those things when they were growing up. And now our task is to provide those things for us. That's what our adult task is. If I lacked being loved when I was growing up, then I have a necessary job of providing love for me now and finding ways to love myself. If I didn't get validation, how do I start validating myself now? If I didn't feel safe, then how do I need to provide safety for myself now? And same with support. If I didn't feel supported, then I want to find support for myself. A coach, a therapist, a 12-step group, a church. What do we need to do to help us find support and friends? Also, like another example is like feeling invisible. If I felt invisible, um, and just not even noticed when I was growing up, then you know what I tend to find for adults? They don't notice themselves. And it's important that we notice ourselves. That is very important. And people go, well, if I felt invisible, aren't I just stuck with invisibility? No, you can become more visible to yourself. And you can do that. That is possible to do. Nobody has control over that but you. You're the one in control of that, which is great news. Secondly, nurture yourself. Once you've identified your unmet needs, take steps to nurture yourself. This may include practicing self care. And by the way, nobody can practice self care for you, it's self care. So nobody can do that self stuff for you. You have to do it. And we are capable of doing that. It does take choices. And this may include self-care, such as getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, engaging in activities that um, provide exercise or that bring us joy. And I remember the first time trying to decide what I'd like to do for myself. I don't know how many times I've shared this story. I don't know if it was many, but I remember him working with Dr. Munson, Reggie. And I would often go, what would Reggie do? What would Reggie think? And he was a great family systems therapist. He really was, and trained a lot of people. And you would learn training just by being in therapy with him. You learned a lot. And I remember him giving me one of the hardest assignments I ever had. Jerry, and I was a workaholic at that time. I was not aware of myself. I didn't know what was going on with me. Pretty confused, very codependent, just, one problem after another, and unhappy. And he goes, if you were to do something in terms of self care, if you were to do a vacation for yourself, because I would always take people on vacation, and I like to do those kinds of things, but I would kind of plan them um, and set up everything for them. I would have some enjoyment with them for sure, but it wasn't just for me. It was just I'm enjoying everybody else's joy because I really didn't know how to enjoy my joy. And so he said, if you were to take a vacation by yourself, what would you do? And I'm going, oh gosh, I have no idea. I don't know what I'd do with just myself. Have you ever thought about that? What would you do just for yourself? Now, maybe some of you have thought of that, but I certainly hadn't. He said, next time you come back next week, let's talk about something you would choose for a vacation if you could choose anything. Anything? Oh man, that opens the door up way wide. And I'm going to have to deal with my guilt and shame and all kinds of things if I pick something for myself. And you know what I picked out? And this was very transformative. People don't realize, I don't care whether they understand or they don't, because it was about me. It wasn't about somebody else. Somebody else might have a different experience of their what would bring them joy. I loved history. I kind of had an interest in ocean liners, though I'd never been on a cruise. I didn't really even want to take a cruise. I just really like history. And the Hotel Queen Mary was in Long Beach. I'm in the Midwest. And so I told him, I said, this is absolutely ridiculous, but I'll tell you what I would do if I could do anything to just have a good time with myself. He said, great, tell me. I'd go out for a weekend to Los Angeles, to Long Beach. I would stay on the Hotel Queen Mary, which I think they're going to reopen. I've been there several times since, but I think it closed for a while. Maybe COVID caused some problems. And I would go out to the Hotel Queen Mary, stay on there for a long weekend, not 2 weeks, not just Thursday through Sunday or something like that. And I would rent a convertible Rolls Royce. And I felt so ashamed and guilty that I would have such thoughts. And he says, that sounds marvelous. He said, how much does it cost I said, I don't know how much it would even cost to rent a Rolls Royce. I don't even know how much it would cost to stay on the Hotel Queen Mary. I don't know. So I checked into it. Well, my heavens, people pay thousands and thousands to play golf. I don't play golf. So it seemed like a fairly good deal to rent a Rolls Royce. And I saved up for that, and I took that trip. I have never been the same since. And in fact, I put those pictures up on my Facebook account, and and I don't have them up there now, I don't think, but that has always been kind of a thing I've remembered as being having joy and doing something I wanted to do, because I was always doing for others what they needed and what they wanted to do. So nurturing ourselves is very important. You don't have to rent a Rolls Royce. You don't have to go to Long Beach. You can do, you are unique, just as I am unique. I don't even have to do that every weekend. That's not, it was just like, it was just so fun and so freeing. And I didn't know I could have fun with myself. and took the tour of the Queen Mary. It was wonderful historically. It was the fastest ship during World War II. It was used as a troop transport during World War II. It was a luxury ocean liner named after Queen Elizabeth's grandmother. So that would be King Charles's great grandmother, is what the ship was named after. So nurture yourself. And then thirdly, providing yourself with comfort and support. If you need to learn more about self-differentiation, again, I would mention the online program that I have that's already started, that you can join when you're ready. Join that, and you have access to that for quite a while, to have access to those materials and the videos. Take a look at that. There's some links below. And all of these points I go into greater detail in the program. So learn to provide yourself with comfort and support that you may have missed out on as a child. This may include giving yourself positive affirmations, practicing self-compassion, and seeking out healthy relationships with supportive friends and family members. Supportive friends and family members. And thank you all for your appreciation for the videos that I put out there. I get a lot of appreciation back, and that means so much to me. It does not go to my head. I already know my own limitations. Um, and but I'm so grateful that others could appreciate. And I know how appreciative I am to Dr. Stoneberg, who is my supervisor in seminary. Then I had Reggie when I was in my marriage and family therapy graduate degree work. And they just enriched my life so much and made such a big difference. So I know how appreciative we can be for someone helping us in those ways, because I have been that appreciative. So provide yourself with comfort and support. You can do that. Self support, self comfort does not come from others, it comes from you. And on this Mother's Day, you can be a good mother to you. And oh my gosh, we have someone from Cork, Ireland. How wonderful. I've had many clients from Ireland. Just marvelous. And someday I would like to go to Ireland. Um, so support and comfort. If you haven't learned how to comfort yourself, there's some books out there on self-compassion. I think one's called Self-Compassion. I might also mention there's Inner Bonding by Margaret Paul. I think that's a good work to work on self. When we're talking about families, etc., Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. And then I do like Taming Your Outer Child by Susan Anderson. And these are works that might be of comfort and help to you in doing some of this reparenting. There's also reparenting books out there too, because you have no other parent now but you. When you become 18, parenting's done from parents. Well, who picks up the parenting? Us. We become the parent for me. I become the parent for me. I don't need parents. I'm an adult. And so we become a parent. And on this Mother's Day, we can be a more emotionally mature mother for ourselves. Number 4, practicing self-soothing is another way to be an emotionally mature mother that we never had for ourselves. Practice self-soothing. Self-soothing is very important when you're doing the work of self-differentiation. It really is important that we learn to self-soothe, to self-calm, to self-focus, to be self-aware, to self-define, and to self-regulate. Now, that may sound like a lot, and it is. That can sound like a lot, but I really think it would be important to learn those things so that we can soothe ourselves and focus on ourselves. And thank you for those who are mentioning about clicking the like button. That would certainly be a help. And that we always like. You can subscribe to this channel also. I'm planning on doing some more lives and trying to do them at different times in the day so people can join from different places in the world. And we have people all over the world. So 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time is not always the best for someone in Tel Aviv in Israel, or and so I try to do them at different times so we can get different people joining us. When you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling distressed, that's when we want to practice self-soothing. And we want to do self-soothing. Oh, I see Catherine's in UK. Great. And we want to do self-soothing. And that could be breathing exercises, deep breathing, mindfulness, visualization. These kind of techniques can help with emotions and to feel more grounded. Self-soothing can be also self-calming. And I remember the important part. Oh, and I agree. Self-soothing with music is a wonderful way to do favorite music that can be self-soothing. And I have a number of different sets of music that I use for self-soothing. And because I want to not stay in an overwhelmed state, not stay in a reactive state, not stay in a anxious state. I don't want to stay there. I want to have a healthy being. And a healthy being manages that anxiety so it doesn't create so much inflammation in the body. We know that epinephrine and norepinephrine are released when we're more anxious or fight or flight or have those kind of things going on. And guess what? Those tend to push inflammation. And what does inflammation do for the body? Not all good things does it do for the body. And so we're very sensitive to that inflammation. And I think someday we'll realize how much that psychological self-soothing can really be a healing dynamic for illnesses, diseases, not getting diseases. Because what are the X factors as to why someone gets a cold and someone over here doesn't get a cold, but exposed in the same way? Well, of course, their immune system could be different, but also it's impacted by family of origin, by anxiety levels, by chronic stress or anxiety. It's impacted by all of that. So self-soothing is very important and self-calming. And we can practice that. It's not beyond our ability. Number 5, we want to challenge negative self-talk. Identify negative self-talk. And now, in a lot of books, they talk about negative self-talk. I also talk about it as systems talk. Systems feeling, systems thinking. And that's the family of origin system that creates and pings me to feel and think in a certain way so that I fit in with the family superself that's been there since the beginning. And so that's some of that negative self-talk, and that we challenge it with positive talk. Or we at least recognize, this is not really mine. This is really my family's. When I feel shame this way, this is not real shame. that I'm feeling. This is shame I'm supposed to feel to collude and to interact with my family in a way that keeps the puzzle and the soup all the way it's always been. I don't want to be in that soup. I don't want to function, think, feel, react in the way that keeps me as the puzzle piece in this dysfunctional family. I don't want to do that. I want to be me, not I want to be Jerry the family or the family Jerry. I want to be Jerry, not the family Jerry. And I talk a lot more about that in the online program, talking about the family super self, the how that's all connected, and then what we can do about it. And I give you exercises and tools to work on that. And by the time you get done with all 6 modules, you will have covered a lot of ground, that I think there are many therapists who have never learned. And I trained therapists for years, and I know what they know and I know what they don't know. And learning self differentiation requires learning self differentiation for yourself. That's why I felt Dr. Stoneberg and Dr. Munson were so helpful to me. They had done their work. And when your coach or therapist has done their work, they're much more mature, much more patient, much more dynamic, and much more competent with you. That's my belief, and that's been my experience. So challenge the negative self-talk. And then, and then lastly, seek professional support. If you're having trouble reparenting yourself, find you a coach, find you a therapist that you can work on that process that might be difficult for you. And a therapist can help you, or a coach can help you identify and heal your emotional wounds and develop healthy coping strategies. And also see how you're still connected to your family of origin, and the ghosts of the family are still flying around in there. It's interesting. I don't Those of you who have seen the Harry Potter movies or read the Harry Potter books, I find it kind of a fun fantasy. Um, and what I think about is family toxic dysfunction are the Death Eaters flying around everywhere. And if you notice what the Death Eaters do, they come and suck all the life out of you. And if you watch those movies, and I think the ghosts of the dysfunctional family past tend to do that. They're the Death Eaters walking around, and then we don't have full and true life. We're just, walking family puzzle parts. That's rather than being ourselves. And I hope that you will take time and realize that it can take patience and time to work on these things, but it's possible to be the emotionally mature mother that you never had. You can do that. Um, The and I remember doing lots of role plays with patients, because I worked in a psychiatric practice, patients and clients, and working with them, and also chemical dependency treatment. We would have big family meetings where I'm dealing with several families all at once, and doing role plays and such for people to get those dynamics out of them so that they can um, find a new way to live. And that's an important part of recovery from any addiction, is that if I get rid of it, my addiction, who am I? And what do I do now? And where do I go now? Now, it's important they get that addiction out of their life because it will kill them, or send them to jail or a psychiatric institute. And we know that, and we don't want that. So we do want to stop the substance. But then there becomes now the work of what am I caught in family wise as an adult child? Did I have alcoholic parents, narcissistic parents, unloving parents, toxic parents? Maybe I had some parents that were not too bad and kind of codependent and kind of immature in that way. But there's usually residual stuff, regardless of what we're recovering from. And we want to work on that residual. Well, I'd be happy to answer a couple of questions. I've tried to kind of watch the chat, but it's tough to talk and stay connected to you while reading all of the chat. So if someone would have a question, well, Catherine asked, any advice for becoming a coach? Um, well, if you want to be a coach, I think it's one of the things I've told people, and I have worked with other coaches, is that if if you want to become a coach, work with me or one of my associates, and you will become a coach. The first coach you're going to be a coach for is you. If you can be a good coach for you, you can be a good coach for other people. And that is a great way to be a good coach. There are some therapists I wouldn't send anybody to them. They have the training, they have the graduate degrees, they have the papers, but I think they could even be more harmful than help. Then there are some great therapists. So I'm not criticizing all caregivers, but I'm just saying the more mature um, the coach or therapist, whether they have graduate degrees or not, the more mature the coach or therapist, the better coaching they're going to do. The more you um, are self differentiated, that is so powerful for helping other people because it will keep you out of their way, but also you will know how to support them in their growth and their development. You see, and people will joke and say, they'll go, oh, well, I like to think about what would Jerry do? And that's fine. I've done that with Reggie, Dr. Stoneberg, and it's okay. I need that objectivity. But Dr. Stoneberg and Dr. Munson, Reggie, would both have told me, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you. If it's helpful, if it's helpful for you to think about what would I do, that's fine. But I don't want you to be me. That's not you being self-differentiated. That we're just starting a new cult is what I don't want a cult of Jerry. I want people who are becoming themselves with additional information from Jerry or examples or I don't want you can't be me. Believe it or not, I can't be you. And you don't want to be me. I don't want to be you. I want to be me. And that's what I like to teach and that's what I like to promote is people being themselves and getting those barriers of dysfunctional family issues out of the way so they can organically be themselves. Syed, I think, how do I deal with guilt? On Mother's Day, I have gone no contact with my narcissistic mother for 6 months ago. I have given her many chances. Now I'm 44, and I think my mental health is more important. Well, is your guilt real guilt or systems guilt? In other words, Syed, um, you just said, my own mental health is so important. Your mother's a narcissist, which is not the most pleasant mother to have, and that would make it quite a challenge. and you're probably not going to get a whole bunch of support from a narcissistic mother. Um, and I don't know, something. And so, um, is your guilt a leftover from the family system, or is it true guilt? Do you have something truly to feel guilty about? At least from what you've said so far, I don't think you do. So this is false guilt. This is systems guilt. And certainly, Catherine, we can apply everything regarding self-differentiation to work, religious environments, other groups we're a part of, every place. It because we take us everywhere, and you take your family of origin and all of you everywhere you go. So it goes everywhere. And what's amazing is, if people that I've found who've grown up in dysfunctional families, or let's say an alcoholic family, I'll use an alcoholic family, they end up going to work, and then what they find is their department runs just like an alcoholic family. Everybody's there. Their belligerent brother, their bad boss, who is much like their parents, other coworkers are like sisters and brothers that they've had. In other words, the whole family just gets recreated right here in this family, and they don't even know that. They don't even realize that. So we want to work on those internal things so that we can be healthier, even if a system is not very healthy, so that we can be healthier in it. Now, what was I talking about? We were talking Syed and the guilt. And so if you are not ready to let go of your guilt, then you can say, I am not ready to let go of my guilt regarding not acknowledging my mother on. And actually, I think there's probably more societal guilt in there and probably more systems or family guilt in there. It's not true guilt because you haven't done anything wrong. You're just being yourself and trying to survive. And why should you feel guilty for trying to survive? I don't know. And having a healthy mental health when your mother is mentally ill. What? Why would we feel guilty? Because well, I know why we do, because my whole life was run by guilt. Every decision I made was always out of guilt. So I'd have to check my guilt and see what I should do. Well, guilt was a major factor, and so we don't, you know. And then I might want to mention, for those of you who don't have a close relationship with your mother, if they ask you, "Well, how was your Mother's Day? Did you see your mother? Did you send her flowers?" What would we say? What would we say to them if they say, "Well, I sent my mother flowers. Were you able to be with your mother this?" Well, and like I said, if you haven't been seeing her for 6 months, probably not planning on seeing her Mother's Day. Now we have an awkward kind of now we have an awkward kind of thing where, what am I going to say? And I think being an adult and being real, well, you don't have to be more vulnerable than you want to be. But I think I might say, well, I'm so happy that you had a good time with your mother, Susie, and you sent her flowers. I hope she was appreciative of those. That's very nice that you have a good relationship, with your mother. My mother, however, we have um, we have a very estranged relationship. I didn't see her as the same positive mother that others might have, and I don't think she behaved that way. And so I have limited contact with her, or you can be honest and say, I don't have any contact with her. And then if the other person doesn't understand, or, well, how could you do that? That's your mother. No, no, you're right. It is my mother, but you don't know my mother. You just know me. You don't know my mother. So be very careful about pushing me towards my mother. You don't know my mother. So let's all be humble with each other and, oh, well, you should be. It's your mother. I mean, you have only one mother. Yeah, but what if she's crappy? Then I have one crappy mother, you know. Then we can own the fact, um, if we own the fact that, um, and take responsibility for, I have limited contact with my family or my mother, and that I'm okay with that. It's unfortunate. I'm very realistic. I'd love to have a mother that I just go take flowers to, and we're all happy, and I have nothing but good things to say about. We all would like to do that, but that's not reality. And so I think a lot of people live in kind of a la la land and think everybody should just treat their mother wonderfully and go back, bend over backwards for their mother on Mother's Day, even if their mother was evil. Well, I'm not of that ilk. I'm not of that crowd. If somebody has a right to their own relationships as an adult, and that includes your parents, and what relationship you have with them. And I remember there was a time when my brother was kind of cut off from the family, and somebody would ask me, "Oh, well, when was the last time you talked to your brother?" "Oh, well, it was about 2 years ago." Now, this was his choosing. He had his own reasons. This was his choosing, but I would say, we have kind of a strained relationship, and that's the way it is. Well, I'm so sorry about that. Well, I appreciate your sympathy or kindness, but this is just how my family operates and has operated. So, it's fine. Oh, yeah, I'd love to have a perfect family. If somebody wants to, change my DNA and have a perfect family, I'd like to. I always grew up wanting to have Chris's, my best friend's parents. I always wanted to have them as parents. And of course, that's always a fantasy. They're they had their own issues and their own problems, but I saw it as wonderful compared to my family. And again, we always tend to think the grass is greener on the other side, and it's not always greener on the other side. And if someone is still enjoying their mother or whatever, maybe their mother's awful, but they still go and do all of the pilgrimage to mom and give their gifts and all those things. That's fine if they want to do that. I'm not judgmental of that, but I also have a right to have my own relationship with my mother on Mother's Day, and that's mine. And I have a different kind of relationship. But it's okay, and the reason why it's okay and why I might say that to them, because they think it would be horrible if you didn't have a good relationship with your mother. Well, I think it was horrible early on, but now it doesn't have to be horrible. I'm an adult. Some mothers and fathers are good, some mothers and fathers are not so good. And now that I'm an adult, I don't need a mother parent. I don't need a mother. It's nice to have a mother. It'd be great to have a good relationship with a mother, but I'm telling you, you don't need one. Not to be a healthy adult. You don't need one. Because if you need one, then you're sunk. Then your growth is only as good as your relationship with your mother. That's limitation. That why limit it to that? And I think it's people don't realize they can have. Now, I'm not recommending you don't have good relationships with your parents or family. If you can, if you do that. It's marvelous, and I'm happy when people will do that. But it's it but they will act like if I don't have this, I would just die. You would? Why? And in my situation now, both of my parents are gone. Does that mean I should just die now? because they're both gone? They both passed away? Well, I hope not. Um, Catherine, you mentioned what are the best first steps to recognizing your unmet needs and your true self? And I think identifying unmet needs. When you think about difficult situations growing up, when you think about your growing up in your childhood, what were difficult times for you? What needs did you have that you didn't get met? And you can think about um, what did some. I just heard a client say something that was just as to the response they got from a parent. Um, and maybe it was just simply that their sibling had been abusive to them or something. Well, I think you just aren't standing up for yourself enough that they might have told their child. I'm like, why do you tell a child they're just not standing up for themselves enough when you're talking about an older sibling who can beat them up? No, no, that's not okay. Any more than just, oh, well, let's teach you how to swim. I'll just throw you in the lake. What? Throw some. I taught swimming for a number of years as a water safety instructor long ago. And you don't just throw people into the water and go, good luck, hope things. You've just now created terror for them, and probably post traumatic stress. So that's not going to help them learn to swim. Um, so your brother's beating you up. Oh, well, you just need to be tougher. What's the unmet need there? Support, safety, protection, reality, maturity, somebody who is an adult who is caring for you, who is mature and could understand that dynamic that I don't think an older child should get to beat up a younger child. And that's just okay because you know how siblings are, you know how kids are. So feeling seen, feeling safe, and like you say, Catherine, and that's what we carry on into adulthood. We may not feel seen, we may not feel safe, but now you have the opportunity to be the emotionally mature mother and father you never had. And that, wait a minute, I'm going to be seen. I'm going to see me and I'm going to give myself a voice. Doesn't mean it's going to change everybody or everybody's just going to go, oh, yes, and bow down and worship Jerry. No, but I'm not going to be voiceless. I'm going to be heard. I'm going to be seen. Now, I may be disagreed with. Okay. But I don't have to be invisible. I'm going to protect myself. If you do that regarding me one more time, here are the consequences. And these will be the consequences. I've asked you many times to stop and not do that. If you're not going to stop and do that, um, that I really think that I'm going to have to limit my contact with you. If that's what you want, but you're pushing me away by not respecting my boundaries. I'm not wanting to run away, you're pushing me away. Now, Sehun, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. You've got an interesting question. Jerry, I wonder about your opinion on asking for financial security as compensation for the past from narcissistic parents, offered in a re-traumatizing way through family politics, sibling rivalry. Well, now, I thought I knew what that question. Well, the I'm not sure who's offering what and who's. I certainly have been very supportive of someone getting support from parents who were narcissistic or had problems, and they were willing to pay for therapy for their child. And I've always been willing to pay for therapy for my child. Always. I wasn't a perfect dad. believe it or not. And so that if there's anything I want to be supportive of is that because I can't fix his childhood. I'm his dad. I can't fix his childhood. I, I can say I'm sorry. I can say I wish it hadn't happened. I was young, dumb, whatever. Um, and the you know and if there is discussion of that, I'm very supportive of that and of people doing that. Many times narcissists cannot admit their own faults to even be responsible for paying for some reparations or financial compensation for all their craziness. And our society doesn't believe that's not a societal thing. Societals believe whatever happens in the home, as long as there's no blood and no bruises, everything's fair game. And I think that's unfortunate. Um, and that parents don't have to, if parents beat you all their lives, hey, that just was their parenting. Well, I think that's problematic. And maybe someday we'll have a more modern view of that's not okay. Um, well, we're coming to the end of our time here. I want to tell you how much I've appreciated you joining me today. Please sign up for the online program. I think you will find it well worth it in terms of time, what you learn, and what you may carry for the rest of your years in terms of understanding. I have put a lot of work into it. I I I've tried to give you everything I could, and I'll be giving more as well. And on this Mother's Day, I wish you a happy, emotionally mature Mother's Day that you never had for yourself. Be the mother you never had for you. And I hope that you will begin to do that today. Thank you for joining me. You have a great day today and be wise.